So,
I definitely don't know what I'm talking about. And if you sitting up criticizing a motherfucker who don't know what they talking about,
you a
just
fool.
Welcome.
Welcome back, man. We back at it.
You know what just dawned on me?
What?
John Oliver, last week with John Oliver.
Yeah.
The comedian, the dude on HBO.
Yeah.
That's how he starts his show.
Welcome. He does. You're right. Anyway, Tuna Fork Podcast, man. We back. I'm Life.
I'm James.
We back at it, man. Episode 13.
Working through it.
Always. Process
is the product.
Yeah. I love
Which
that
is
show,
episode,
man.
people talk about it all the time. I think that's because I think it's our first one.
Yeah.
I think it's the one that people go to the most.
Yeah.
And I think I have the most conversations about actually.
Yeah. I think that all of them, man, all of them after that, we've referred to that product as a process joint.
It was a great way to kick it off.
Yes, sir. And it's just the general vibe of everything we doing. Like, we fucking up at this, but we keep going.
Yeah.
And that's part of the product.
Yeah.
You fail. I saw something today. The chick who, I don't say chick, the woman who's a sports agent, who's the first female sports agent that got this baseball cat the highest contract in the history of baseball, like $40 million a year, something like that. She was the first female agent to do that.
Is she a sister?
No. White chick. He went to. This guy Brewer went to UCLA with. But anyway, she was like, first thing she said, she felt her way through it. So I was like, that's it. You got to fail your way all the way through. She failed her way to success, is what she said.
And I think you gotta fail a lot, bro. I mean, I was watching an interview with Dame Dash, and he was like, prepare for tough times.
Yep.
And if what it is that you're seeking comes easy, don't trust it.
That's right.
And that shit just rings.
That's right.
In my mind so often, just thinking about it.
That's right. And if you think you're gonna try something one time and succeed at it, it's full of failures, dog. You never. It's a road to anything.
Ain't it though?
Anything is full of failures, man. You gotta keep going. That's the success, is keep going.
So you buy a house.
Sabo. Yep.
You didn't build the house.
No.
But when you get in there, you realize that the people who owned it before you didn't necessarily take the best care of it.
Right.
So you gotta clean some shit out. Mm-hmm. You gotta figure out what's wrong. You gotta figure out what's right.
Right.
Make sure the foundation is straight, blah, 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 all of that shit. And I think, and once you clean out the house, in an effort to even clean it out, sometimes the smell of the shit that was there before lingers.
Yep.
And doesn't matter how much you clean the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes you still smell the remnants of the shit that existed before.
Yep. Sure.
And that concept led us to the topic of today, which is the residue of isms.
Man, isms. Define that. What we talking about, how we approaching this word isms.
I don't know. I don't.
We talk about the classics.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the racisms, the sexisms, along with the obias and all the rest of that stuff.
Obi, yeah. All of it.
All of them, yeah.
And what's funny is when you clean the crib and the motherfucker still smells, weird, you get to acknowledge that it still smells weird.
Right.
Because you'd be kind of looking wild if
Right.
you didn't want to acknowledge
Right. Right.
what you were smelling.
Yeah. And here's the deep part about when you say clean a crib, you have to understand when you're cleaning by virtue of the definition of what you're throwing away and what you're keeping.
Yeah.
And that smell lingers in, maybe it's in some of the things that you keep and that you shouldn't keep. You know what I'm saying? It lingers in, it could be in multiple places.
Bro. And so if I am working through the process of cleaning out my sexism.
Right. Right. Right.
What does that look like? Do I get to tell women I still smell some shit? And if I do that, will women give me the space? Will they give me the space? Should they give me the space? Because a lot of this shit is just a residue. It's left over.
Yes.
I can't act like that these ways of thinking and these ways of responding aren't there.
Yes.
And when we live in a world where we're constantly just telling people to ignore the smell, and let's act like it isn't there.
Right.
And maybe there's some stuff that still needs to be cleaned, but it never really gets cleaned because all the time is spent ignoring that it's there. Yeah.
Or pretending that it's, or just saying that it's not there, even though you still smell it. You still just say, nah, it's not there. I think, well, a couple things. Women is a broad term. Some women you can have those conversations with, and you feel like you're in a safe space to have those conversations about things that you're processing, right? Depending on the situation and who you're talking to, some of them aren't open to that process. Some of them have, and it's experiences, man. Some of them have had very hard experiences with dealing with the ugly part of that. You know what I'm saying? The extreme ugly part of that. So that's where they're seeing it from. Some of them not so much, and they can see the work and the work through and the gray areas that exist, right? With any ism has all of these sorts of gray areas. It has an extreme, you know what I'm saying, very damaging area, and then it has this sort of gray area that sort of exists, and they're all sort of mushed together in this word.
And the subtleties of it, I think, are where the majority of the people operate.
Yes.
And it gets mushed together into this thing to where it all has the same weight. Exactly. It all has the same value.
Exactly.
When sometimes I feel like there's merit in separating them to understand. Because going back to the analogy,
right?
None of these isms we created.
Yep.
We didn't create racism, bro.
Nope.
We didn't create sexism.
Nope.
We didn't create homophobia. We didn't create the world that we live in. Yeah. It's like the house. We all bought the shit.
Yep.
And we're living in it and trying to figure out best how do we clean it?
Yeah.
How do we clean it?
And that's an ongoing thing.
It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
But it's like we're tackling things in a way that I feel in some way, shape, or form perpetuated.
Yes. And we all are. So the person who feels the strongest about one piece, one ism, could be a person that's participating in another ism.
Yep.
Right? So we don't self-examine. And again, dog, this goes back to, I love how all of this shit always connects. That empathy piece, where if you can see where somebody else is coming from, where they're trying to make adjustments, and you can have that conversation with them on a personal level and not lump them with all of that ism, all of from end to end, right? Then you will come to an understanding. And then you can, both of you guys will walk away enlightened, no matter what the ism is, you know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. But if you come in and you have this hard, fast sort of attachment to it, and you're going to attach what you perceive about them or what they said or didn't say with all of the other pieces of that, there's no way that you can have a healthy conversation.
And I think if you don't end up having the conversations, it leads you to a point of ridicule.
Yep.
And telling and projecting onto people that they're bad.
Yep.
For smelling the shit that's in the crib.
Yep. And and Dave Chappelle put it best. When that pendulum swings that way, but it always comes back. So there's always going to be a defensive, very aggressive response when someone feels like that they've been sort of on this judged end. Like, you put me in a boat with everybody else. I don't like that. So when it comes back, they're gonna defend their position. And it's funny, people defend positions that they didn't even create.
Incredible.
Or they don't know half of what they're talking about, but they're defending it because of this ism, this word that exists that they feel like they have to stand on the side of. Like what we talked about before with the dude scaling, people feel like that they have to. Well, they don't feel like. Media tells them that they have to have a position. So they stand in this position regardless of what that actually means. Like regardless of how they actually feel about a lot of the times. They just want to stand on it, and then it creates a fight. And it's a lot of isms. It's a lot. It's a lot of. I went through was like ageism. It's all of these things that people stand on the side of, and it's because what somebody told them they should believe or they should think. As a liberal or as a conservative or as a whatever, this is what you should think, even if you don't really believe it.
And I think I'm gonna go first, bro. There's a lot of shit and a lot of concepts that I struggle with.
Right.
Not because I'm a hateful person.
Right.
Or because I'm mean.
Right.
But because there's this residue of old ways of thinking.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
I'm trying to negotiate.
Yeah.
In a sincere way.
Right.
And that I might not even feel like I have the space to.
Right. And not just hide it.
And not just hide it.
Right.
And not because again, like I said in the thing the other day, I know I'm a bad motherfucker.
Right.
I remember when I used to go to church, I used to pray. I was like, God, I don't believe none of this shit. I'm gonna be honest. And I would pray this. I'd be like, God, I don't
I'm sorry, man.
I don't believe none of this shit.
Right.
But if I'm gonna give this my all.
Right.
And give me some signs, give me some inspiration, lead me to an understanding that I can make this thing called Christianity a part of my being, a part of my fiber.
Right.
And when you do that, I'm gonna be gung-ho. I'm gonna be the baddest, most devout proponent of Christianity since Jesus.
Right.
But I need to feel it. I need to get bought into it.
Right.
I never got, but I at least had, so I guess the reason why I'm saying that is I started out the endeavor with a sincere objective.
Right.
And that was to understand this thing that everything around me said understand. I was supposed to go to church. Why? Because everybody else went to church.
Right.
I was supposed to do this thing. Why? Because everybody else said that I should do it.
Right.
Everybody does it.
Right.
You know, we looked at Muslims sideways. What the hell you mean Muslim?
That ain't even
that don't compute.
Right. That was
so all of this stuff, I was taking my biases and prejudices and putting off to the side for this thing called Christianity, even though there was nothing in me that said that felt right.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of things, a lot of ideologies, for lack of a better term, a lot of isms are are the same way in my life now.
Yeah.
Like with LGBTQIA stuff. Like I didn't create the world that marginalizes these people.
Right.
But I do participate in a lot of thinking that might perpetuate some of the thoughts and negative stereotypes.
Right.
But how does a space get created for me to genuinely say, hey, look, I'm struggling with some of this stuff.
Right.
I'm honestly battling between the notion of gender binary, non-binary, and all of these things, not in a way to make fun of them, but that I'm genuinely trying to understand.
Right.
And I feel like it would make I feel like it would make that community, it would do them more justice for me to really, truly try to understand, as opposed to just superficially saying, oh yeah, I get it, or don't say anything when people are talking, because I really, truly don't understand.
Right.
But I'm walking around with the residue of this outdated thinking that I don't feel comfortable having honest conversations about for fear of being labeled something that I'm not.
So do you think that are you uncomfortable with the outdated thinking that you have, or are you uncomfortable with not having the space to sort of work through that thinking? Do you think that the thinking that you have is on a level valid, or do you think that you know that it's not correct how you think about it, but you just need to understand why you don't feel that, why you feel that way, or understand why it's not?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know.
Right.
And I think that's a part. I think that's the best position to take to a path of understanding.
Yeah.
I just know what I think. And so I'm uncomfortable not with the thoughts, but because they're the only thoughts I know.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable with not having the space.
Right.
Or not feeling like I have the space.
What about, is there anything else that you felt that way about, but then gained a level of understanding and felt better about it?
The stuff with the men shit, with men and women, I had some real fucked up views about that.
What do you mean, relationships or?
No, just in terms of
you talk about the sexism piece.
Yeah, the sexism piece.
Okay.
I had some real outdated thoughts about that shit. Right. And shout out to Ashay, Dada, Arma for loving a brother and being patient and not judging me. We sat in here one day, bro, and had a 4-hour conversation. And I felt so strongly about some of the shit that I was saying.
Right.
Embarrassed more than anything.
Right.
And she just watched me, bro, and just loved me to the other side of the conversation.
Right.
And I was like, this is what people need.
Right.
Like, some people actually need.
Well, so in that scenario and in that example, and that's a perfect example, you had someone who A, cared about you, regardless of how you felt. They still cared about you the same way, right? And B, who you on a level respected.
Yes.
So you all were able to have that kind of interaction to where you were exchanging ideas all the way through to you came to the realization that you needed to come to. And maybe she had some realizations too about, maybe it was a mutual exchange of ideas that brought you on the other side. But in those other areas, a lot of times we don't have people that we can interact with in that same, it's rare to have someone you can interact with that way and come out that way.
It was the first time in my life that I was really confronted with this notion of how I've been showing up in women's lives.
Right.
and how I had just been taking advantage and manipulating things and not really seeing stuff from the woman perspective. And that doesn't mean that I'm a woman because I see something from a woman perspective.
Right.
It just means that there's this consideration about this whole other way of being and operating that was never factored in to any equation.
And that's from, I mean, that's the shit that you came with. You know, that was shit that was in your bag.
But that's what. So a lot of the isms are just I didn't create homophobia.
Right.
I grew up in the same world everybody else grew up in.
Yep.
And if I'm struggling
right.
with some outdated ways of thinking,
right.
somebody else who is a lot further along in that process than I am, it would probably help them better in their journey or quote unquote fight if they understood that. Because a lot of times I think we're going after people as if they are the originator, creator, and orchestrator of these isms.
Yep.
When really they're just perpetuating the same patterns of shit that everybody else is. They just got their pattern that they're producing that's different from this one that we plan on fighting against.
And here's the thing though, and here's the other thing. The people who stand like in a position to lecture you about their particular ism, they struggle with it too. There's no ism, even if you're knee deep in that, if that ism is you struggle with, I mean, like racism. Black people struggle with black people. You know what I'm saying? we can define racism all we want, but we got our own internal shit that we're dealing with. And I think that's across the board. I mean, across the board, nobody is perfect in this thing. Nobody has the answers. All anybody can do is have conversations and work through it with people who they love, who they care about, who they respect in a way that enlightens both people. So we stand in, because social media world and media world and all of that, we stand in these positions against something we don't even half the time know we standing against. We just know we got a position against it.
Okay, so you got a dude, James, sitting here saying he have a conversation.
Right.
He wants to have a conversation about, let's say, some thoughts on LGBTQ. There's some shit in that space that he don't understand.
Right.
No matter how many fucking documentaries he watched.
But here, let me pause you right there. Here's the thing. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish. Sorry.
No, that's cool. As I'm saying that and asking questions, I'm imagining a white person somewhere saying they got questions about some black shit.
Of course. Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
all I can imagine, all I see in my head are these black people I've had conversations with saying, I'm tired of having conversations.
That is clean. And that is clean.
And so in my mind, so they're saying, I'm tired of having these conversations. We done had enough conversations. Y'all know about this shit, right? Y'all know about this shit. It's America's original sin. Y'all go figure it out.
But they got questions. And those questions are legitimate.
So I am being
the
white person. In this scenario, because I'm saying, and I'm sure that there's somebody in the same way, our black brothers and sisters are saying, I'm tired of having conversations. And I'm tired of taking a high road. So
it ain't no high. I guarantee you that if we sat down with a white person who we respected and whom respected us, and had a conversation about racism, and the questions that, let's throw out the ism word, because that always starts the bullshit, the confusion. Questions that he had, I promise you 85% of them would be legitimate questions. Like, why do y'all, how can y'all, what the fuck is up with, and they would be legitimate questions that they would have that would require us to answer them.
But they not,
and they say, I don't know why we do that.
But here's the thing, bro. And this is what I understood with Maya Shea conversation.
Right.
They're going to push in the same way that I pushed the Shea. It's not just necessarily questions, because remember, there are emotions behind these questions.
Yes.
Behind these answers.
Yes.
And behind these thoughts.
And beliefs.
And beliefs.
Yes.
And so so what I'm also saying too is not necessarily questions.
Right.
I'm saying I might want to say, I don't believe this shit.
Yeah.
I might want to say that. but sincerely say that I'm struggling with it.
But can you say that?
This is the residue of isms conversation.
But can you though? Should you be able to say, hey man, I don't believe that shit.
I don't buy this shit.
I don't buy. Can you say that? Shouldn't you be able to?
Can a white person go to some black people and say, I ain't buying this shit?
But let's get deeper. Can a black person have a conversation with a black person about black shit and say, I don't believe that shit?
So here's the thing. It's gonna all be wild, and it's gonna all end up somewhere, and it's gonna end up in a counterproductive fucking space, bro. Because this is what I mean. This is why my conversation with Shay was so profound in that space.
Right.
Is because it was the love that she had for me. Right. That she put that shit to the side and pushed through it, and we had a breakthrough moment. So she was saying stuff to you, and you were just responding, I don't believe that shit. I don't believe that shit. Bro, it was until that conversation, I had no idea why women didn't report they sex abuse shit or they rape stuff. I don't understand that. I'm a dude. I don't get that. But here, I think... You see what I'm saying? Yes, absolutely. And so you put yourself in a position of first, that you generalize all of it, right? Into this is what it is and this is what it's not, without really having an understanding about all the nuanced possibilities of it. Bro, that's... yes. Right? Right? Yes. So that's where you started. So in order for all of us to have an understanding about something, we need to erase all of those generalities and really understand that there are nuances, there are situations. This shit is a personal thing. Bro, how can you understand something if you don't get to ask a question? This is my point. Open to understanding it. You're right. Like you're right. Or you're right. That's like, so somebody says, the square root of 332 is 4,275,992. Right. And you just get to sit there and be like, oh, okay. Cool. Right. So there's that piece too. No. Because all you saying is okay. Now, a student will raise their hand and be like, can I ask a question? How did you come up with that? Yeah. So that's a question. And it's a legitimate question. And when you don't agree, yes, because there's another way that I use to come up with an answer, yes, that might differ. Yes. Now we're in a debate. Yes. And so because a lot of the isms require debate, not in a way that, and some of it is going to come off as disrespect. But okay. So a lot of the isms, I think a piece of it is a debate. Another piece of it is the understanding piece, is the empathy piece. When I tell you I don't understand, bro, No, listen. Not understanding in terms of your own, like it makes sense to you. I mean understanding that what they're saying exists. So if somebody is telling me that gender doesn't matter, well, that's a judgment statement. So no. Like in the LGBT, so what I'm saying they're saying gender is fluid.
So it's perfectly okay for you not to.
It's like
not to have that point of view.
But it's like using a scientific method. Some of this stuff gets critiqued.
Yes.
And so, so this is what I'm just saying, that it's fluid.
Right.
I'm going to say that's bullshit.
Yes.
And then you're going to say, no, it's not.
Right.
And then next thing you know, we're in a heated debate or whatever, because you are explaining your side of the coin.
Yes.
I am explaining my side of the coin.
Yes.
There might be friction in between that, but what happens is, what do you do after that?
Nothing, because that's so. If a person came up in here and said race doesn't exist, we're all one people, right? And you don't agree with that, both things can be true, right? You can say, hey, we are all one people, but we're broken out into different experiences.
So that's a statement.
Different people have different experiences.
So that's a statement.
Right.
Once we start getting into the questions and answers piece,
right,
then that's when, because a lot of times people are making statements.
And it's an opinion.
Well, all of it is. Pretty much, right? Like,
I guess.
Like to say race matters, that's an opinion. Because race don't even exist.
But
so,
race matters in the sense that there are things that happen because of the race of the person. So in that area, it matters. But to say but that's different from statement as saying there's no such thing as race, right? So, but both of those things can be true.
Both of those things can be true. But see, now we splitting hairs.
Right, we are.
We just talking about the concept, bro.
Right.
And we disagreeing about certain parts.
We're not disagreeing. I'm just saying that somebody could say that gender is fluid, and they stand on that part of that. You could say, nah, I don't think it's quite fluid. Right? You can choose for it to be fluid. You can do whatever you want to do, right? But that's not how I see it. And that's okay.
But
they don't have to see it your way, you don't have to see it their way. But the thing is, if I don't see it your way, I can't tell you you're wrong because you don't see it the way I see it. The only thing that matters is if I treat people poorly because of that thing I believe that they are. That's the only thing that I can believe, I can think whatever I think. As long as I don't think that you're less of a human being for being whatever you are, that's the only thing that matters. Whether I believe gender is fluid or not, that's inconsequential.
But see, that's not what we're telling people. And that's
exactly, of course.
That because we get into things like, what are your intentions?
Yes.
Why are you doing this?
Yes.
And what you really mean?
Yes.
And a person could be sitting back and saying, yeah, your agenda.
Right.
And somebody could be sitting back and saying, I done gave $10 million to the United Negro College Fund.
Right.
Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Right.
And I say one thing over here.
Yeah.
And it's going to cancel out all of the things that I did over here. Now I gotta apologize. Now I'm getting ready to get, so kind of like when we say we could be sitting here struggling with certain ideas about stuff.
Yeah.
And sharing them. And then somebody could sit up here and watch it and be like, these are some chauvinistic, disrespectful motherfuckers. And we like, hold on, man, we just having a conversation. But these are the things that we're doing. Because like, it's not, this is bigger than just how we treat people. Like what we say is everything.
But here's the thing though. Yeah, but what you say is part of how you treat people. Sometimes I could have an opinion on something about someone, somebody, something. But the key is, if I treat people equally in situations that like you, I could have these thoughts about women and what they should and shouldn't be doing. That's just an example, right?
Is it just an example?
Yeah. But when I'm in a workspace with them, I have to treat them like a person.
Bro.
I can't
There's no way that those two things are going to be okay in 2021. They're not.
No, but see, that's way dated. But I mean, okay, let's say
let's say you got on here and you said women should really be at home. It should not be in the workplace. But
that's a ridiculous concept.
I'm
though.
just saying, bro, that motherfuckers, this is my point.
I mean, that's extreme.
Let's say not you. Let's say there is a person
Right.
who thinks that women should just be at home cleaning and
Have
cooking
that extreme
and having
point
kids.
of view. There's no way
Right,
someone
but-
at that extreme point of view could function with women in a workplace.
How do you know?
Not like because
Dude,
that's extreme.
but hold
that's
on.
not like
But
your
the
regular.
extreme-
That's not where sexism shows up
So this is what I'm saying, bro.
most of the time.
There's a reason why these things continue to exist.
Yes.
Because they're in the corners. They're being perpetuated. So he thinks that way, but when he's at work, he's the nicest guy in the world. He just recommended a woman get promoted. But let it come out that he says that and thinks that. What he said, bro, is going to cancel out what he does.
Absolutely.
And so we think that kind of thinking is extreme when that's what a lot of I know dudes right now to this day who say women. What did they?
So, dog, so you're saying that you know dudes that say that women should be at home cooking and cleaning. That in 2021, there are dudes floating around. You're saying
I'll put it like this.
on a large scale that feel that way.
I know dudes who say that they girl can't have no male friends.
But that's an insecurity on their part.
It's all insecurity.
That's true. But that's something
man.
different, though. But is that sexism, though? Or is that just...
You controlling the whole human, bro. Yeah.
But is that sexism? Or is that just you being a dick? Like, is that you being an asshole? Or is that sexism?
So, if your wife can't have no male friends because she's a woman, to me, that's sexism. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
It could be. And it could be both. It could be
I mean, he's definitely
crazy.
a dick. I mean, a part of being, like, some of this shit is recognizing when you being a fucking asshole.
Exactly.
And that's the shit that hurt me so much. I was like, damn, I've been walking around this whole... Now, if you ask my homeboy, he don't give a fuck.
Right.
He'd be like, yo, man, it's just...
That's just saying.
Wife can't have no male friend. You know what he said? I'm her only friend. Like...
That is I don't see that as sexism. Where I see sexism showing up a lot, in my experience, is in working environments where women are seen, treated, talked to in a way that is not, they don't treat the men like they treat the women, like they treat women in the workspace, right? In terms of capabilities, in terms of dependability, in terms of how they interact, you know what I'm saying? And it shows up, and it's obvious, and sometimes it's subtle, but it's obvious. In those cases, I think, I don't know, man. I always, and it hurts. Well, I'm affected by it because I see also how people treat, people of color in workspaces, right? And you see it. Sometimes it's really subtle and really sort of short, but it's there and it's palpable and it's thick to me, and I see it with them, right? Sometimes they're the same person that does both things. So
mind you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in that case, to me, those isms are, you cannot treat someone differently in these work environments because they are different from you, whether they be a person of color or a woman. Nothing about your interaction with them can vary based on that. Right? You should interact with them the same way that you interact with everyone else. Now, your personal life, you can be an asshole. There's no law against you being an asshole.
Now, if you were to ask, so there are two men sitting here talking about sexism.
Well, we put in a racism piece too, but yeah.
So if you were to ask a woman, she's going to be seeing it from a very different lens.
Possibly.
I mean, she's a woman. She's going to.
But I mean,
so this is what I'm saying. So we're talking about what we think sexism is, as dudes. So what I'm saying is to have a legitimate conversation about sexism. Guess what we would need in this motherfucker? A woman. To have a legitimate one. Otherwise, we gonna just be picking around the fucking edges with the shit. Because we're in the same way, because we're looking at it from male eyes.
You think that's...
This is what the Ashay conversation taught me. We cannot see it.
No. I'm not saying that. My stance has never been what it is and what it's not. Because it's not on me to say what it is or what it's not.
Didn't you just say that?
No, I said that.
You said you don't think that was sexism. You literally just said that.
About the you can't have no male friends?
Yeah, you said you don't think that was sexism.
What I'm saying is it's poor behavior and it's asshole behavior way beyond sexism. Yeah, it is. It's all of those things. It's misogyny. It's all of those things. But the sexism as a word we're talking about, for me, is a word that shows up in workspace.
This is my point.
Misogyny is
You're saying for you. This is what I'm saying, to have the conversation. To have a conversation about some of these isms, we need the people who are on the other side of the ism to be engaged. And a lot of times, we're not comfortable having those people, either those people aren't willing to have a conversation because they're saying, I'm tired of talking about it, right? Either they're saying they're tired of talking about it, or two dudes sitting here talking about what they think sexism is without having a woman present would be, it's like two white people sitting trying to talk about what racism is and what they think it is and what they think it isn't without a brother there saying, oh, what the fuck you talking about? This is it. And you know what they would say? That's not racism. That's just me being a bad person. And that might be a part of it too. But the black person being there would have a very different lens. So when me and Billy just walked in and just said, hey, get some, you know how this shit roll, bro. But what I'm saying is, on the topic of isms, being comfortable enough to have conversations, to ask questions, to share thoughts about some of the remnants of these outdated ways of thinking with that other group, for them to kind of like push back and poke holes and challenge, because that's where the work is, bro. Like, I couldn't have watched a documentary about this shit. I needed to have somebody who loved me through my bullshit to see that.
Right. Because
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have made it on my own. And I was in my fucking 40s when I had that conversation, which is crazy. Shit, man, I'm sitting in this motherfucker crying. I'm like, damn, I've been wilding. Bro, when it comes to these women.
But, okay, man, I hear what you're saying, dog, but I'm not saying. Nah, you're not hearing me out. That's cool. I'm not saying just like, okay, if I took it back and I say racism, which is something I've experienced, right? Even though two white men having a conversation about racism, they can't say how it affects you. They can't say, but we can all define the words. Right? Now, you could have a personal connection. If I say racism, if a white person walked on me and called me a coon, right? That's not racism to me.
But to them, it might be.
To what, the white person?
To two white people, they'd be like, hey, Bob, you know you're not supposed to use the N-word, right?
That don't make it, but that's my perspective. But they can have a perspective on it, and I can have a perspective on it.
But it would be wrong. It would be uninformed.
What do you mean?
Like, for two, this is the problem with a lot of the shit that's actually racist, bro. White people probably don't even know. They probably know it's some other shit. But if you're not sitting there, man, and getting checked on it, and this is why a lot of times I think a lot of these white people feeling like shit is just coming down on them so hard because they like, damn, literally every motherfucking thing we doing is racist.
But it's not.
But this is what
But who's checking them?
This is the conversation. That's
where I'm falling on it. Who's checking them? The person that's checking them might not be saying what's right.
Bro, how do you tell a fish what water is?
What?
How do you tell a fish what water is? If it's the world you've known and
right.
the only environment that you know, how do you know? Like everything around you reinforces one thing or another. And so sometimes when you get, there's something outside of you that says, oh, this is what this stuff is. This is how it shows up. This is how it impacts other people. And then you got the person on the other end saying, hold on, that's bullshit. And maybe somewhere y'all come to a medium, maybe y'all come to a middle ground somewhere or something. I don't know. But I don't, for me to be walking around talking about like I'm a male feminist and all of this other shit, like I'm a man that lives in a world that's going to see the world in a very specific way.
Right.
I can promise to expand that, to take other things and other factors into consideration as best as I possibly can. But I'm always gonna fall short because I'm quote unquote me. And me is perfect in the same way that a woman is perfect or whatever the other case may be is perfect. But for you to walk around and say that I don't have to. The conversations about this stuff isn't being had in a way that fosters healthy disagreements, because now it's about compliance, 100% compliance.
Always.
Do you fucking believe what I'm saying? And if not, you a piece of shit and you out of here.
But it's always about compliance. It's because people can, just like I can't tell a white person not to like black people just to like them. If they don't like black people, that's perfectly within their rights not to like black people. If they don't want to have a conversation about liking black people, if that's not what they want, that's perfectly within their rights to do so. It's not my job to sit here and try to convince you to like black people. Now, we can have even if you don't, even if that's where you're coming from, and I know that's where you're coming from, we can have a conversation about how to interact with black people in a healthy way for you and them, right? That's cool. That's clean. But I can't tell you that what you feel, think, or how you see something is right or wrong. I can only have a conversation about how you interact with them.
So somebody look at you and think you are subhuman.
Cool.
You can't tell them that that's right or wrong?
If they don't want to have that conversation, if that's what they feel and think, it's plenty of people who walk around think black people are subhuman. But if they cannot interact with me in a way that they can treat me like I'm subhuman, that's when we talk about against a law. That's when we talk about you get your ass whooped. That's when we talk about all the things that come with those choices to manifest what you think. But you thinking them that's cool. Now, if you want to evolve and come to and understand that we all human beings and that we all should be treated as human beings, then we can have that conversation too. And you could talk about all the things that you thought that were wrong, like you did. All the subhuman talk, your granddaddy taught you that black people are coons and they over-sexualize and they this, that. I've watched TV and I've seen y'all coon around and jump out the gym and all that. We can have that conversation, right? But again, I cannot tell a person what they should think or what their opinion is.
And it actually, I think, for me in the thought process, just even on this topic of race, I don't even want to spend the time trying to convince you of some basic shit like that. Like the idea of even trying to convince.
Right. Convince is a deep word.
Yeah.
Now, if you come to me and you like, hey man, I've had these thoughts, I've had these opinions, and if it's something that somebody that I respect, you know what I'm saying? I want to work through them. We can sit down and we can chop it up. It might not be pretty, but we will chop it up if that's our relationship.
I'm thinking of a white boy at your job coming up to you.
Man,
Hey man,
listen.
you got a couple minutes? I've had these thoughts.
Listen.
And let me say, every time I see you get on Zoom, I be wondering if you just came from shooting dice.
Dog, that is a real... Listen, I've had interactions with white people, and you probably have too, that were so out of pocket and so... And I guess they intended well, but we all, dog, when it comes to this race shit and this gender shit, we are sick because America has taught us the way that we think. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we think is what America taught us to do. You know what I'm saying? We are sick. And now we got these words floating around. You know what I'm saying? These condemning words, motherfuckers getting fired and canceled and all that shit. Thinking what they've always been taught to think.
And we get mad at the person, but not America.
And then it's extreme, like sexism goes from every extreme to actual sexual assault in a workspace, all the way down to you perceiving me saying nice shoes as a sexual advance to you.
Yeah.
That's not sexism.
Or saying, hey, you want to go out on a date? You be like, what? I sexually assaulted you. I just want to ask if you want to go get a burger.
Is that sexism? Can a woman sit and say, hey, that's sexism?
Hey, listen.
Can she?
Listen.
As much as if someone says to me, hey, Christian, nice Jordans. Is that racism?
It depends.
Can I say?
What did they have in their eyes when they compliment?
That's clean.
Like, did they like?
That's clean.
Now, if they say,
now is that for a woman too?
How many pair do you got?
See, I know you got a lot of pair. Y'all
do that a lot, don't y'all?
You guys love your Jordans. You love your sneaks, don't you?
Hey, this is the thing.
But again, to me, it's always a personal exchange. If I am the dude that every time I see Rachel at the job, then I'm like, nice blouse, nice skirt, nice stockings, but then I say nice shoes, is that a racist move? I mean, a sexist move? Is that creepy? Hell yeah. But if I just randomly like, hey, those are some nice shoes.
Right. That's a good point. It's a situational thing.
It is relationship based.
But there's so much of these things that are taking place that it just depends on when you're getting caught and how you're getting caught.
Yeah, it doesn't show up in social settings the same way. Is sexism the same in social settings as it is? My point was that sexism is a work word. It's not a social word.
I don't know, bro.
Right? So you got words like misogyny. When you don't want your wife to have male friends, that's something else. That's borderline abuse. You know what I'm saying? That's something different. Then sexism is I am treating you different because of your sex.
At work.
At work.
So if I'm treating you different because of your sex at home.
But what is that?
I'm asking you. You just brought it up.
But how does that show up at home? You just an asshole. And so you're a misogynist. And you're treating people poorly.
So here's the thing, bro. All these words are confusing. And I don't like them. And it's one of the reasons why I don't even use them.
I don't either.
I ain't use sexism, bro. I
don't think I've ever used that
homophobia.
Word.
I ain't used, what else I didn't use?
I don't think I've
word I use is at all is probably racist.
I don't even think I've used racism. Like
You've never used the word racism.
I've never in a meaningful way having a conversation and said that that's racist.
What do you say?
It depends on the situation.
Give me an example. I mean, you just said you've never in a meaningful way used racism.
I haven't. Okay, because
this nigga 67 years old and just getting ready to say on fucking camera that he's never used the word racism.
That's clean. I've always understood, to me, and it might not be the same to everybody, but to me, Racism is when a person prevents another person of another race from achieving, acquiring, or moving in any direction, right? So that means they have to stand in a position to stop you from getting a loan, stop you from getting a job, stop you from living, stop you from achieving, stop you from getting in a school. So that to me is racism, right? If someone on the street calls me a coon, and if he doesn't like black people, then he's a bigot. So that's something different to me.
So based on your definition of racism, I'm hearing you. Can black people be racist?
Absolutely.
Huh. Okay.
Because we've all been in situations where a black person felt a way about another black person being in a space, so they've purposefully and intentionally put things in place to stop you from moving around. Whether it is a loan, whether it is a grant, whether it is admission, whether it is a promotion, whatever the thing is, they did that because you're black. And they felt a way about that. So yes.
Can a black person be racist, or can they engage in racist behavior?
It's not the same thing. If you engage in the behavior, don't that make you that thing? Are we trying to be nice to black people because they black?
Am I gay if I do a gay act?
Yes.
Okay.
No? We going down a slippery slope, my dude. It's a slippery slope.
Listen, bro. I ain't gay and I ain't never done a gay act, but so let me just be clear.
I wanted you to clear that up.
Appreciate that, man. I'm glad you gave me that space.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you clean it up, dog. I'm gonna give you a second.
I think you can do something and not be that thing. I think you can do something and not be that thing.
So if you consistently,
see, now you add another word. Now you adding criteria.
Because if you do it once, then that's what you do. Like if you're a black person and you are consistently and constantly standing in the way of black people achieving,
hold on for a second.
Right? You're not going to do that just to one random black person because you don't like them.
If I am trying to keep my job,
right?
So to me, it ain't what you do, bro. It's why you do it, and that's the reason why I asked. Because if I can be engaging in an activity and not be that thing that is identified with that activity.
So can a white person do that?
Yeah.
So a white person can hold back a black person because they're threatening their position, and that not be racist.
The individual? Yeah. The individual cannot be racist. Dude, if I'm working at a bank and the bank tells me, if I'm working at a bank and I'm a manager at a bank and I'm approving loans and the manager above me is a white dude and he comes to me and says, I only want you to approve 20% of the loans that come through that are black.
Right.
If I'm doing that, but I love black people and I think whatever the way I think about them, I wouldn't necessarily be a racist, even though I was engaging in a racist activity.
Then what would you be?
I'd be a pawn. I'd be a pawn in a racist game.
That's tough. That's tough. That's tough.
I mean, we talk.
So what is a racist though? A racist is a personal choice, is what you're saying.
I'm going by your definition. I don't want to give my definition because we on camera.
A racist is a personal choice.
So we talked the other day about not letting our actions define us. And sometimes we are engaged because we're suffering too. We're a victim of it as well.
Who's we?
Black people.
Okay.
So sometimes we're engaging in behavior that is not in our best interest.
A lot of times.
But that don't make us, if I go and murder somebody, that don't make me a murderer.
Of course it does. What does it make you?
Not if you killed my brother.
Huh?
Not if you killed my brother.
What you mean?
I don't know.
If you go and murder somebody, what are you?
No, I'm just saying. I don't think that just because you do something, you are that thing. And a lot of times, black folks are doing things from a survivalist mentality that and they might be engaged in a behavior that does not define them as that thing. That's all. It's just something to think about. Maybe I'm wrong. But
so tell me this. So you're saying that the activity that you're engaged in, if it's detrimental to black people on any level, is not necessarily racist.
Doesn't make you a racist.
But is it?
That's what I'm
even
saying.
if it's not a racist activity. Yeah, okay, I agree with you, because you could be out selling dope, but that don't, which is only affects your community.
That don't make you a racist.
That don't make you a racist. But you are a pawn not knowing in the whole racism, well, not racism, in the whole destruction of black people thing.
And sometimes you know shit. Like the dude who giving out loans, he know he's slighting brothers, but he like that shit. I got a mortgage, I got an ex-wife, I got these kids in school.
But that's a choice.
Yeah.
So you can't choose to be a racist or engage in racist activities. So engaging in racist activities doesn't make you a racist.
Dude, for me, racism isn't even about people. It's about a structure. It's about a system.
I think the complete opposite, bro. But I'll hear you out.
I just don't think it's about individuals, man. And because I think it's the system that continues to perpetuate and distribute resources and access and opportunities to people. And there are people who are black and white who participate in the distribution of those resources and opportunities. And some do it knowingly, some do it unknowingly, but at the end of the day, the end result is the same. And it is taking resources and assigning them to one group over another and placing value on skin color. And so the pawns, the pieces that are moved around to play that game were a bunch of different colors in my mind.
Yeah, man, I think the complete opposite, dog. I think racism is personal. And the structures that people are in, they bring their personal opinion about other people into that structure, which makes the structure sick within and pointing out, right? So if I'm coming to work and I'm coming from a history that don't like a certain people, then my job or my interactions are affected by that. So I'm not gonna distribute those things evenly and fairly. And a lot of times you have there are whole clusters, because Americans, as soon as they old enough to understand race. And what they understand about race is that black people aren't to be liked and white people ought to be liked. You know what I'm saying? And that's black and white. But those white people who don't even know why they don't like black, they just don't like them. So they come into these structures and these systems with that mind. So they are bank lenders. They are people who approve loans. They are people who go out and find resources in this planet in spaces full of brown and black people, and they disrupt these. I mean, largest scale. They go into these countries and disrupt these countries and create chaos to get to those resources. But that's okay because it's a brown country or a black country. And that's seen as okay across the board. If that ever got out and leaked to the media, that's cool.
But you have structures and institutions supporting that. So to me, that's the thing. Like it's the individual can do whatever they want to do. It is a system that supports it.
But it's a system of the individuals.
But
if those individuals weren't there wouldn't be no system.
So it's the algorithm, bro. No. The algorithm is repeating it. So and this is where a buck-toothed dude who sleeps with his sister in West Virginia, who does not like black people, could sit in his trailer and spew whatever kind of hate he wants to
all day long.
All day long.
Yes.
It is only until he acts on it and then has the system support his behavior that turns into a racist act. So the individual himself has, because the buck who dude sleeping with his sister living in a trailer, he don't control the media.
No.
He don't control the judge, the judicial system,
No.
and he might even get a black judge. So the game for me, the trick bag in my mind is getting people to focus on people. It's almost like watching people try to fight Mr. Smith in the Matrix. The Matrix has an infinite number of Mr. Smiths that it can produce.
Right.
So the person sitting trying to fight a Mr. Smith, it's a futile effort. It's just you're never going to win. That's why, like, when you see some of the movies, some of the scenes, it's 1,000 of them on his ass.
Right.
Like, you got to go to the source, and the source is the system. And so because there will be all kind of different people supporting and reinforcing the beliefs of the system, because a lot of it is it's the algorithm that is perpetuating itself.
But
and it doesn't need your conscious consent.
But I see what you're saying, dog. But to me, the algorithm is only perpetuated through individuals who are in, around, and through the system. So if name any organization, and that organization is as racist as the people who work there. If
So does the organization make the people racist, or does the people make the organization racist?
This is a culture.
But I'm asking, which
does the
one
organization
is it?
make the people racist, or the people make the organization racist? It's both.
Okay,
so you can have an organization whose culture at the very top, CEOs, executives who practice racist activities and not allowing people of color to even have a chance to how they talk about and talk to and talk through people of color. That creates a culture. Now, in order for you, and then they pick people who are of that culture.
But that's what.
So it perpetuates itself in that.
So,
but it's the people. So if someone comes to the very top and be like, "Hey man, we ain't doing this no more," he can then not make it that way. He can change the culture of this organization.
So a part of that is where personal responsibility comes in, which we just had a conversation before we even started the podcast, which is the hardest thing to do, right?
Right.
So, but at the end of the day, it's a pattern that's reproducing itself.
Yes.
So even in that culture, when we're saying culture, what we're really saying are, here's the ideologies. And a lot of the ideologies, the people there didn't create.
Yes.
But so
somebody did though.
But that's what somebody created racism.
Right.
It wasn't us.
Right.
Where the fuck are they?
But it's only perpetuated through people.
But that's my point. The culture, the system creates the people. So
but culture and system are two different things. But go ahead, I'm gonna let you finish.
I think they're all the same shit. I think they're interchangeable, and we can call them different things at different times. But I think the system, when we get caught up in the people, I think is when we lose sight of who the real enemy is. Because the enemy, when we sit and we say, the enemy looks this way, that makes us less likely to see the enemies that look like us, who are conspiring just as much as the ones who don't look like us, consciously or subconsciously.
That is clean.
And so it helps us not look at the snakes that are in the grass, in the yard, because we looking for a rabbit. And we sitting up here hanging cool with one, but we're all a part of the same system, but we're looking for the enemy. And that's when you know that the enemy is really doing some cold-blooded smooth shit. When he can tell you it looks a certain way, but it actually is another way. And so when I'm sitting back and I'm looking, and this might be a word, and that's why like a lot of times, yeah, I'll just stop there.
I don't think the enemy is, to me, per se, an enemy. I think America has, through its history, has made every American sick. And racism is in how they interact and how they view black people and people of color is a sickness. And white people suffer from it, black people suffer from it. And it's and as it perpetuates itself in these work environment, in these organizations, right? In these functions, in these government agencies, in all of these things that perpetuated over and over again, is full of these sick people. So as soon, and then those people just, you're right, there's an algorithm that's programmed in us that perpetuate this thing. So as it continues to perpetuate, it just brings in more of the same people. So when you got executives on the executive level and they all sort of subscribe to that, then they're gonna bring in more people who subscribe to the same thing. And that is how it continues to perpetuate. But like I said, if you have an organization with 3,000 people and you get a CEO or a board or someone committed to changing that culture, then they can say, we're not doing this anymore. We're gonna do it this way. And whoever ain't with that, then get the hell on. And then you start to see, and then they will start to hire and see and work around and expose and have conversations, whatever needs to get done in order to change the culture of that space.
74 million people gravitated towards Donald Trump. They were not all thinking the way that he was thinking before that.
No. And they weren't all necessarily racist.
But what I'm saying is, these things are creating those people.
Yes. Yes.
These. So when we're talking about the system, so we're saying we're looking for people like that. When you look back and you hear about like Hitler and all of that and all of these crazy ass dictators,
right?
They had people.
It wasn't crazy, but
following through with some wild shit. Like, were those people wild before they connected into that system, or did the system make them that wild? And so that's because
But the system is nothing but ideology created by people. There was nothing that they plugged in that told Hitler and everybody under them what to do. It was something that was brewing. It was something that was culturally brewing for a long time. And then there was somebody who gave voice to that, and everybody fell in line to that. It was created by people. There was nothing that drove all of these people to do this thing. It was the people who decided to do it. Same with Trump. Trump wasn't plugged into some system that then connected everybody and gave everybody a way to think. It's been there. It's been there. And there are people who are like, you know what? I want a conservative to win, so I'm willing to take whatever else he brings. The racism, all that shit. That's fine. I just want him to try to overturn Roe versus Wade. I just want him to be a conservative in the wilds. I'm just down for any Republican, whatever. I just don't like no black man being the president, and I want to change that. So it was a lot of different things that fit in there, but they were all people. There was nothing driving them other than people.
All those ideologies that you just described were things that they got from the system. So my question to you is this. I'm hearing you say that there are a bunch of individuals making individual decisions that just so happen to be this one unified thing?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we talked about this before. There are forces in media and voices that tell you what to think and what to feel, depending on where you stand. So if you make a choice that you're going to stand here for whatever reason, then there are outlets and media and things that tell you how to think and what to feel. If you think
That's
that
not
is
the system. That's not the system.
but even that system, media is people writing reports and writing stories about the shit.
Okay.
Is it now culturally you have like your very conservative outlets that are culturally gonna be racist leaning, or at least racist, I'm okay with racist, right? That's a cultural thing. But the system doesn't run itself, dog. It runs people.
The
run
system, no, of course people, of course, it's like me asking you, how do you change an algorithm? We were talking about this the other day. These things people are just tapping into and manipulating. But a lot of it wasn't, we didn't create these things.
Right.
I think a lot of times we're talking about the tools.
Right.
Like media is a tool.
Yes.
Like the ideologies that they're tapping into.
Yeah.
The psyche, the fears.
Yes.
Are the same. And so
I think we're saying the same thing, but yes. Because it could be both. It could be something that's perpetuated, algorithm is created because of the perpetual people that comes through and they add to this algorithm and it builds and it becomes something that's easier to just replicate and do over and over and over again. But the people that come in and continue this wheel that turns have to have that like mind. So
no,
these are the people that come in and continue to turn.
They don't, but they don't have to have. But this is where I'm disagreeing. I don't think they have to make the like mind in the same way. It is like if you get into my car and you listen to my Spotify and I give you 2 Spotify channels, playlists that I set up,
right?
You're gonna toggle between one or the other,
right?
What is the odds of you saying I'm great gonna make my own Spotify playlist, especially if all the other people you heard who attempted to go make another playlist had some wild shit happen to them.
Right.
So now you only got 2 playlists to listen to, and you're going to continue. You didn't curate any of the songs in that playlist,
right?
But you're going to listen to them.
But somebody curated it.
Somebody curated it long before you, and so
or shortly before you. You could have just made it,
but that's
and sent it to me.
But you perpetuating it.
Exactly.
But you didn't. But you didn't.
You didn't create it.
You didn't have to be like-minded to do it. You
have to be open to being like-minded. You
only have 2 options: either station A or station B,
or you can create your own,
which never happens.
But you could. Now you could, like you said, if you made me a playlist, right?
My point is, bro, so an ism is never creating your own.
Yes.
An ism is
following
the playlist that you were given.
Yes.
To say, hey, let me just go ahead and repeat this.
Yes.
I didn't put any of the songs in there.
Yes.
But I'm playing these motherfuckers.
Yes.
I know them word for word.
Yep.
And at this point, I like the motherfuckers.
That's cool. Yes. And I'm gonna give it to somebody else. Dog, we saying the same thing.
What's up, mama? Yeah, I think we are.
That was a lot to get to the same thing, dog. I don't know what to take away from that.
Maybe the takeaway is there is no takeaway. Ooh, bars. Mama, that is not.
What you listening to, dog?
I ain't been on no music tip.
Come on, man.
Hey, man. I downloaded this, speaking of playlist, this UK jazz playlist I've been listening to. on Spotify, and they've been having some good people on there. But I ain't really been focused on some other shit.
Speaking of UK, man, I came across a dude, Gets, rap artist out of the UK, I guess part of that drill, whatever you want to call it, UK rap scene, hip hop scene.
How you spell it?
Gets, Ghetts or Z, one of them. He's with
He black?
Yeah. In the same vein as what's the other dude that was in that series that was on Netflix about the drug dealers in
Snowfall
London.
or some shit?
Nah, man. Anyway, it's pretty solid, man. It's
UK drugs? London something?
Nah, it was it was all I can't believe you ain't see the series. It was good. We talked about it.
I didn't watch the series.
About dudes in London. It's like The Wire, but it's in London.
No, I ain't never seen The Wire.
Neither have I. I've never watched one episode of The Wire.
Me neither, bro. And every time I say that,
yeah,
people look at me hella sideways.
Right, they do. They almost borderline offended that I ain't never.
Yeah.
Not one.
And I heard they are excellent.
I
tried. I'm so uninspired, bro, to watch that shit.
I tried, but I couldn't even get through it.
I can't. I don't. Maybe one day, man.
Maybe
when they come out with a new Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
When Walter White come back to life,
I'll
watch The Wire.
They not. Yeah, so I fell up on him too, man. Still on R&B, but
Oh, you need to send me that playlist, bro.
Which one?
Or the YouTube video from the night slow jam after dark or whatever.
Oh yeah. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you when we're done here.
Yeah.
All right, man. You got anything else?
I feel like we need to button this bitch up.
Sometimes we can't button it up, dog. Talk to people, man.
And just remember, too, that these things we didn't create.
Yeah.
And some of us are struggling harder than others.
Yeah.
To adopt this new way of thinking.
Yeah.
And philosophies about things.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that we're right.
Yeah.
But we didn't create the shit.
Yep.
And maybe in the same way that we're struggling to figure something out about this ism, maybe you're struggling in a similar way to understand another ism or another thing. And you're asking people to be patient with you in that. Because like this idea, bro, that all this shit is right and that I'm right in every single way and that I'm working every way. Like this dude, men, I know dudes, man, who walking around talking about they fucking male feminists and every single thing that a woman says is 100% right and they don't question anything. They don't seek deeper understanding. For them, it's just about 100% compliance. I'm not that person.
Never have.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that person. If I don't agree with some shit, I don't give a fuck what it is.
Right.
I don't mean I think you deserve to be locked up in the house barefoot and pregnant.
Right.
That just means I don't fucking get it and I don't agree.
Right.
So.
Right. That's all clean.
We gotta leave room.
And dog, the main thing is we gotta talk to people. Stop taking these. We have to not take these generalities and running with them and thinking that's the definition of a thing or a definition of a person or who they are and what they're about. We have to talk to people. All this shit is based on an individual relationship and how you engage with somebody and how you understand and how you empathize with them and vice versa, how they empathize with you. And like you said, I mean, you could believe strongly about something and think that someone stands on the other side of it and still come to an understanding. Just like you could stand on the other side that somebody else don't believe and you all can come to understanding. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay to not believe what everybody else, what someone else thinks or what you, but we can still engage in a meaningful, healthy way.
And don't look at what we saying to pick our shit apart.
Yeah, because
or do pick it apart. Fuck it. That don't mean we what you say we are.
This
we
motherfucker
just trying
don't
to
know what he talking about. So.
I definitely don't know what I'm talking about. And if you sitting up criticizing a motherfucker who don't know what they talking about,
You a fool.
You just as silly as I am.